Tonight on CFTK-TV News, the latest weekly report from the Kitimat RCMP has come out. More evacuation orders and alerts have come into effect in BC recently, and the BC Conservatives have unveiled their plans for the healthcare system.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Good evening, I'm Cale Maslin. Here's what's making news in the Northwest and beyond for today. The Kitimat RCMP recently put out their latest report that covered what had happened in their local jurisdiction over the previous week or so. One case of theft that occurred but isn't reported as publicly as often was when a truck tailgate parked in the Baxter neighborhood was taken overnight, and it was the second time this kind of theft happened in a short span of time, and the police have since been trying to find any footage that may lead to the thief or thieves being caught. The report also documented that RCMP officers were conducting vehicle checks not too long ago at a point on Highway 37 near Forest Avenue and found that everyone they stopped was complying with the rules of the road and will keep doing stops like this throughout the summer. The Cariboo Regional District is asking residents to conserve water where possible. The region's Environmental Services Department says area water systems are experiencing higher than normal demand, with many nearing capacities because of the hot, dry weather. The department says overuse runs the risk of running out of water. The district is also reminding residents of mandatory sprinkling restrictions in effect from May 1st to October 1st. With scorching heat and dry conditions throughout BC, there have been more evacuation orders and alerts put into place recently. One particular fire in the southern interior grew thousands of hectares in a brief span of time.
The Shetland Creek wildfire burning out of control and growing fast. People and their livestock forced to leave with little notice.
You know, you sort of get that sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach. Here we go again.
I gotta hope that they're doing okay down there.
It's believed to be nearly 50 square kilometers in size, resulting in dozens of evacuation orders for local First Nations and the Venables Valley area, about 30 kilometers south of Ashcroft.
Everyone in the area should leave immediately if they have not already done so.
That fire saw aggressive fire behavior as we entered into the evening last night, what we would consider rank 4 and rank 5. And the suppression efforts were really challenged on the ground.
Officials say so far no structures have been impacted, but the wind and dry forecast ahead is putting locals on edge.
It's going to be 40 degrees every day for the next few days here, so that's just adding to the stress levels, I think.
The BC Wildfire Service confident in its response for this fire and others across the province.
Essentially, we have stood up our preparedness across the province with multiple resources in every zone.
But the Thompson-Nicola Valley Chair calling for better communication.
There was a real lag between events happening and them being reported on the BC Wildfire Service app and website.
There are now more than 200 wildfires burning across BC. That's more than double the number early last week. Officials urging the public to stay prepared.
Right now, it is an extremely dynamic situation.
Coming up next is an insight into the harm that ER closures are causing. Welcome back. Health authorities are increasingly frantic to entice doctors to work on their days off as a fresh wave of emergency department closures becomes more likely. Those ER closures have hit rural and remote communities hard, but lower Midland hospitals could soon be on diversion overnight.
British Columbians in the north are no strangers to locked doors at the ER, but they're reaching a breaking point.
It's a combination of frustration and fear. You know, people are scared. We especially now the temperatures are pretty warm.
Fort St. John's Hospital shut down overnight for the 5th day in a row, while Fort Nelson doesn't know when their ER will shut down on short notice.
They're experiencing daytime closures, overnight closures. The entire province, especially in rural BC, are experiencing these diversions over and over and over again.
A desperate memo to Island Health doctors offered $3,200 to work at the Port Alberni Hospital, plus a room at the Sprout Lake Resort, along with a guilt trip. If the shift is left unfilled, all ER patients will be diverted to Nanaimo. Someone stepped up this time, but Island Health has major gaps in the summer schedule, and in Fraser Health, Mission Memorial and Peace Arch hospitals are on the bubble. Entire days are unstaffed despite up to $4,000 a shift up for grabs.
It's really hard to provide the service that we usually provide, and it makes us inefficient. And hence the waits increase, the frustration level increases.
Multiple sources tell CTV News the Wait Times website dramatically underestimates the times in Lower Mainland hospitals. This comes as a new contract for family doctors has lured many emergency physicians to 9-to-5 jobs, and the throttling of medical school seats for decades has shrunk the workforce long term. Despite the challenges, no one wants to provide substandard care.
Our number one concern is how can we make things better for patients that are sitting in our emergency departments. And, and a lot of that comes down to, again, making things better for those that are showing up to work.
The reality is becoming clear. Our healthcare system has relied on our medical personnel working tremendous amounts of overtime to prop it up. Fewer and fewer of them are willing to do that, and pressuring them doesn't help with morale.
The BC Conservatives have unveiled their plan to overhaul the ailing healthcare system. They're making big promises, including a universal system and slashing wait times. But as CTV's Ben Nesbitt reports, both rival parties and other critics are not quite sold.
Our healthcare system in BC is in crisis.
A crisis that John Rustad vows his party can fix. The BC Conservative leader made several bold promises Thursday, including a reworked universal single-payer system that would deliver care through both government and private facilities.
The intention is to better utilize the professionals we have, to make sure that those services are there.
Rustad says European countries that have adopted this model are delivering high-level care.
Other jurisdictions in the world are doing far, far better than us. And, quite frankly, the cost per capita in those systems is much lower than what we have in British Columbia.
It doesn't magically grow a bigger workforce. So I think it's very naive at best.
This critic says that type of model has yet to work in Canada.
When we look at Alberta, we look at Saskatchewan, these are among some of the provinces that have been most aggressive in that regard. They have not performed very well.
Rustad says the Conservatives will lift the vaccine mandate that cost so many healthcare workers their jobs in hopes of ending emergency room closures in rural communities. They're also promising to reduce wait times, potentially sending people out of province for diagnostic services or surgeries.
What we're seeing, for example, cancer rate now is horrendous. It is beyond what is acceptable.
The BC NDP also critical of the proposed universal system.
They want to promote privatization of our healthcare system. They want to take resources away and move doctors and nurses from our public healthcare system over to our private system.
Healthcare spending makes up roughly 40% of the province's current budget. Rustad says these changes could initially cause a spike in spending before leveling out. Ben Nesbitt, CTV News, Vancouver.
BC's housing minister was on Vancouver Island recently to announce more affordable housing options in the Comox Valley. As CTV's Andy Garland reports, the announcement is part of a larger plan to protect renters.
Doug McLeese has lived in his Campbell River apartment for 2 years after he was pressured to move out of his last rental.
The places were being sold, or else the rents were being jacked right up.
Which is an all too familiar story in today's housing landscape.
Especially for retirees, people who are on a fixed income.
But Doug the retiree, along with others living in this complex, now don't have to worry and can breathe a little easier because the place they are in now is under the province's Rental Protection Fund.
To identify buildings that are going on sale so we can purchase them, put them in the hands of not-for-profits, and protect the renters.
The Rental Protection Fund helps support nonprofits to acquire existing affordable buildings and keep them affordable in perpetuity.
It's as much about protecting the homes as it is about, frankly, giving them housing security for probably the first time in a long time.
Since the $500 million fund launched at the beginning of this year, 1,500 properties throughout the province have been purchased by nonprofits, which includes 9 new properties on the island in Campbell River, Duncan, and Port Hardy.
The rents that they're paying now are going to be the rents that they can continue to pay, which is just a massive sense of relief.
Nonprofit Connective Support Society received roughly $27 million from the Rental Protection Fund to purchase the 9 properties on the island, which included grants for needed building repairs, and the buildings will remain to be managed locally.
Really like any other housing provider, except there'll be affordable housing. Much like any landlord-tenant relationship, everyone will continue to be tenants.
It's just a good place to live for someone who's retired.
And now, after today's announcement, it should remain that way for Doug and many others. Andy Garland, CTV News, Campbell River.
Turning to tonight's weather, the North Coast is again set to deal with a chance of showers at a low of 15 degrees. The Terrace-Kitimat area will be partly cloudy, but with their own low of 14 degrees. And the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District should end up getting a chance of showers plus a low of 6 degrees. On the North Coast, the upcoming week will deal with maybe the odd bit of sun, but clouds and rain otherwise. It include a high shifting from 18 to 14 degrees. In the Terrace-Kitimat area, their next week or so should consist of a little bit more possible sun, while still having rain and clouds and a high bouncing from 28 to 15 degrees. And in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, the week for them will have sun to begin the week, before being rainy and cloudy the rest of the week, and will feature a high going between 31 and 17 degrees. Checking out the highways now, visit Drive BC for the latest and up-to-date conditions, and as always, drive safe out there. On Highway 16, there is utility work, bridge maintenance, construction work, and electrical maintenance. Highway 118 has some bridge construction and ditching. Highway 37 has some paving operations and roadside brushing and maintenance. And some more maintenance is available on the Nishka Highway. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the View of the Province's highway cams. Still to come, Joe Biden is facing more than his fair share of struggles in recent times. Welcome back. Now to surveillance video that has to be seen to be believed. A would-be thief was so determined to break into a Vancouver Island bike store, he used a forklift to break down the front glass and gates. He then tried to drive away with the merchandise. CTV's Shannon Patterson has the story.
Passers-by can't help but stop and stare at Ride the Glide electric bikes in Saanich. The front of the store is essentially gone.
Unfortunately, you can't really protect too well against a forklift driving in.
You heard that right. This damage was caused by a forklift driving right into the store. Management got word something was amiss overnight.
We got notification from our alarm system. There'd been a glass break alarm and a front door alarm and a motion detector alarm.
Surveillance video captured the moment the forklift crashed through the glass and security gates. And when the owners arrived,
they saw a person driving a huge construction forklift out of the Broadmead parking lot onto Royal Oak Drive. And it's just like, I think that probably was driven into the front of our store.
This break and enter can be described as extremely creative. Certainly this is very unique. Not something that I've seen in my career.
Before the would-be thief attempted his slow motion getaway, he loaded some e-bikes on the front of the forklift.
Mike eventually went to go kind of catch up with the guy and found him with all the bikes slowly falling off of the forklift as he drove it down Royal Oak Drive towards Royal Oak Avenue, and eventually decided to abandon the forklift and try to ride away on a bike with another one on top of it.
With police service dog Bruno of the Integrated Canine Service with assistance from patrol, they were able to locate the individual who was hiding and trying to evade police.
The man who was injured during his arrest was released on a promise to appear.
Right now, we're looking at exactly where that forklift came from. We're looking at local construction sites and determining exactly where it was taken from, how that individual acquired it, how he started it.
Watching the playback of the footage and just seeing this guy just without a single care for all of the people he's hurting by doing this. Just smash the front of our store open. There's just no words for it.
The store does have insurance and is getting lots of love from loyal customers.
It's a terrible thing, but when you have people reach out to you like that, you can't help but feel loved and supported.
She knows e-bikes are popular items to steal, but never imagined someone would go to this length to get them. Shannon Patterson, CTV News.
Surrey Mounties say teenagers have taken a relatively harmless prank and escalated it into vandalism and property damage. Police believe the teens, who are now potentially facing charges, were influenced by social media. CTV's Ben Nisbet has more.
Nicky Nicky Nine Doors or Ding Dong Dash, a decades-old prank that Surrey RCMP say some teens are pushing beyond just a little harmless fun.
Unfortunately, the behavior seems to be escalating.
Police say several young people have been caught significantly damaging people's front doors in the Newton and South Surrey areas in recent weeks. Investigators believe their actions were inspired by potential social media clout, but now they could be facing the justice system.
Identification has been made on a few, and charges are still pending as we then start to look through what our avenues are, as we are dealing currently all identified as youth.
While there's been no reports of physical retaliation from residents in Surrey, in February 2 teens were struck by a vehicle in Abbotsford after allegedly pulling a door knock prank. Police say the driver could be facing charges. Surrey RCMP are urging people to remain calm if they're on the receiving end of one of these pranks.
If you are a victim to this, don't engage with the youth. Don't put yourself in a position in which your anger or frustration might get the better of you, or you might become then engaged with the youth that responds in an escalated behavior.
Police are asking anyone who may have been a victim to one of these incidents or who witnessed one to contact them. Ben Nesbitt, CTV News, Surrey.
U.S. President Joe Biden is battling COVID and calls to drop out of the presidential race. Top Democrats are defecting as others warn that the polls aren't in Biden's favor. This comes as Donald Trump took the center stage at the Republican convention. CTV's Joy Malbon has the latest.
Donald Trump's moment of survival seems to have changed the former president, telling people he's tossed out his tougher speech and will stress unity after that terrifying moment. In a cell phone video obtained by PBS, he told a crowd,
"And then I got shot." In many ways, it changes your attitude, your viewpoint on life, and I think, honestly, you appreciate God even more.
Projecting strength and defiance as President Joe Biden had to be helped into a car returning home to Delaware, knocked off the campaign trail with COVID. Biden's doctor says he's experiencing mild upper respiratory symptoms and continues to receive Paxlovid. It comes at a critical time, Democrats at a crossroads, as many question whether Biden can serve another 4 years. He faces growing pressure from senior Democrats. Former Speaker Nancy Pelosi reportedly telling Biden polling shows he cannot defeat Donald Trump in battleground states needed to win. The Washington Post reports Barack Obama has told allies Biden's path to winning has diminished. Only this said Biden would change his mind.
If there has some medical condition that emerged, if the doctors came to me and said, you got this problem, that problem.
As more donors desert him after that disastrous debate, House and Senate candidates fear they could be wiped out too. After all these calls, Biden reportedly showing a willingness to reassess.
We really don't care whether it's Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, or another candidate. We are prepared to deliver Donald Trump a victory on November 5th.
Trump's party more united than ever as investigators found the suspected gunman Thomas Crooks had pictures of both Trump and Joe Biden on his phone and had searched for dates for Trump's rallies and the Democrats' Chicago convention. This was him. New video shows Crooks almost a full hour before Trump took the stage, acting suspiciously. He reportedly posted a chilling message on a gaming site saying, July 13, will be my premiere. Watch as it unfolds. At the Republican convention, senators confronted the Secret Service director, demanding to know what went wrong.
Give us an explanation. You owe President Trump answers.
Anger from Trump supporters and a strange sign of solidarity with Trump. Some here are sporting bandages on their right ear. What's so surprising is just how united Republicans are after nearly a decade of infighting over Trump's polarizing policies. Contrast that to the Democrats who feel that their political world is imploding. Joy Melvin, CTV News, Milwaukee. And now we turn our attention to the stock markets. The Canadian dollar is down 16.10 cents. The price of gold is down $57.30. Oil is down $2.66. Natural gas is the same as yesterday. Aluminum is down $17. In Toronto, the TSX is down 36.37 points. The Venture Index is up 1.24. In New York, the Dow Jones is down 377.49, and Nasdaq is down 144.28. Still ahead, another notable actor has passed on recently. Welcome back. A comedy legend has died. Bob Newhart had a decades-long career winning various awards for American humor. From sitcoms that bore his name to his regular Big Bang Theory role, generations who enjoyed his humor are remembering him. ABC's Ike Ejoichi reports.
Hello? Bob Newhart was an Emmy Award-winning TV actor and comedian, most famous for his 1970s sitcom role as a stammering psychologist on The Bob Newhart Show.
Good morning, Dr. Hartley.
He also played a neurotic innkeeper on the 1980s TV comedy Newhart.
I'm Larry. This is my brother Daryl. That's my other brother Daryl.
Whose series ending has been described as one of the most memorable in television history.
I was an innkeeper in this crazy little town in Vermont.
Known for his deadpan delivery, the comedian's career spanned over 60 years, included multiple TV series, feature films, and millions of comedic albums sold around the world. With his wry humor and imagination, Newhart believed his craft could make a difference.
One of the functions of comedy is to help people get past a difficult time and move on with their life.
Newhart began his career as an accountant in Chicago. Bored, he started improvising comedy routines, leading to a contract with Warner Brothers Records. His first comedy album, The Button-Down Mind of Bob Newhart, shooting to #1 on the charts, winning him 3 Grammy Awards and resulting in sold-out shows at nightclubs and theaters across the country. He also took to The Tonight Show stage to host 87 times. After 7 nominations, at age 84, he won his first Emmy for a recurring role on The Big Bang Theory.
It's really you.
It's a very special award because it's your peers.
Memorialized in a life-size statue on Chicago's Navy Pier, the man and his comedy will not be forgotten. Ike Ejoichi, ABC News, Washington.
RCMP in Surrey reminding people that 911 should only be called during potential or unfolding emergencies. The Mountie said of over 103,000 emergency calls the unit in Surrey got last year, more than 72,000 of them were abandoned, a 26% increase from the same type of call in 2023. The Mounties say people shouldn't let children play with phones and to stay on the line to speak to an operator if 911 is accidentally called to confirm your safety. That's all of our news for now. From everyone at CFTK-TV News, I'm Cale Maslin, and thanks for watching.